Okay, we like them. That's about the size of mine.
Yeah.
That's a good juvenile class.
Yeah, we want.
Look at that thing. That's cool as it can be. On tonight's show, we're going snook fishing. And we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be fishing for the snook in a place they're not supposed to be. We'll be fishing tonight with Captain Rick Reddick in some of the rivers in Manatee County. We'll also have some talk with FWC's head snook biologist, Ron Taylor. We'll be answering your emails. We've got some great trophy case photos, including a potential world record. Captain's Corner, stay with us. Hooked on Fishing starts right now.
Captain Phil Miller, third-generation Floridian and Grandmaster Angler. He is hooked on fishing.
Oh, my! We got to go after this, and we're going to get him. We may need some help for that one, buddy. Coming in the boat. Oh, I can see that coming. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hooked on Fishing. I mentioned in the tease that we're going to be fishing for snook actually in the wintertime spots. And joining me tonight is Captain Rick Reddick. And Rick, thanks for taking us fishing. And you went, well, we're catching snook where they're not supposed to be in theory. Tell us how that all came about.
Yeah, it was pretty special. Last month when the chartering was kind of slow on the flats, I decided to go up to some of my winter spots and check stuff out, and I was pleasantly surprised. We had some really good snook bites up in the rivers, and where the water's actually fresh.
Yeah. Now there's a tip for you, and we've been talking over the last number of weeks, and I'm getting emails from you that the water temperature is too hot and the trout aren't on the flats and it's too hot to fish and all. Where can I find some fish? Well, last week or so we showed you about fishing the artificial reefs. Artificial reefs in Tampa Bay, the artificial reefs just out in the Gulf of Mexico, places that are easy to get to where you can go and catch some fish. You wouldn't think to fish any of your wintertime spots, would you? Not really. You go back there only when it's cold. Well, here's another idea. It's totally different, Rick, but how about going back to some of their wintertime spots, wherever they may be, and giving those a try?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. Up in the rivers, the water's deep and it's moving, so it doesn't really have a chance to get stagnant. And you know, we've been catching snook and redfish in there, mangrove snapper. You never know, baby tarpon are in there, baby Goliaths. There's all kinds of stuff. So even though it's August, it can still be pretty good there.
Now to add to that, or another way to look at that, to what Rick said, how about the canals? We fish the canals in the wintertime, maybe on some higher water. The fish might be under the docks, but if they're not in the docks, would they be out in the deeper dredged in areas, or maybe the holes around the docks where some boats come in and out and stir up the water behind them? Might they be there? It sure sounds like it. If the winter pattern that we found is working in the summer where we were, it certainly might be working where you are. Now the bait, Rick, in this show was interesting. There's a little bit of a challenge when you're fishing any freshwater type places. It doesn't always, the white bait, which we had, doesn't always live in freshwater.
No, it doesn't. And that's really where the niche or the trick comes in, is being able to take the right type of bait up in there. And I take the white bait up in the rivers as long as I can still get it out by the bridges or on the flats. And you have to really do a few things to make sure that the bait stays alive. And one of those is to protect the salinity of the water.
And we're going to show you how to do that a little bit later in the show. Rick's got a neat trick, kind of bringing in from the freshwater world, I think. And we're going to show you how to keep that bait alive in fresh water. Interesting, if the bait dies in the bait well, but you put it on the hook, they're still going to bite it. You'd think if it died in the fresh water that the fish wouldn't bite it because they wouldn't expect to see it because it'd be dead if it came up there.
Right.
They didn't hesitate to bite it, did they?
No, no, and they might actually like it, freshwater slowing it down some for them. So when I'm up there, I don't crush it like you'll see a lot of guys crush the white bait. I kind of let the water slow them down for me. Well,
there you go. We're going to show you something different tonight. When we come back, we're going snook fishing. But first, here's some Hooked on Fishing trivia. Welcome back. I had no idea the Manatee River was that big and long. Did you?
I had a little bit of an idea. You know, it comes out from the Lake Manatee in the reservoir up there.
Yeah. Well, Captain Rick Reddick is joining me tonight, and we're going snook fishing. Rick decided that he wasn't having a whole lot of action in some of his summertime spots. Let's try something totally different. So he said, let me try some wintertime spots, and by golly, they were there. Let's go fishing with Captain Rick Reddick. We just came out of the boat ramp. Right as we come out, we see the birds dipping, diving, see the fish striking. Don't ever pass anything up like that. More than likely, Rick and I guess it was going to be jacks or ladyfish, but who cares? We're 5 minutes from the boat ramp, and we're already got fish pulling drag off our reels. So and we're going to go fish for other things today, but I never pass up a chance for any kind of action. Maybe you can't eat a ladyfish or jacks. Maybe you can. I know people that do. But the action, always good to start the day. And we're going to keep this one just in case we get in an area where we need some cut bait. Right there.
Let it go. Come on, let it go.
What do we got here? A little snook? Look at that. Little snook. Good to hear. Good to see, I mean. A snook this size, Ron Taylor told me the other day, is about a year old. Young snook. Right in the tongue. Where he is. Can you see that? Is that right in the tongue? Okay. And these were from last year's class. So if we don't get any more freezes, fish like that are going to continue to live. When you hold them upside down, they kind of go dormant on you. This little one you can just hold and get him back in. Off he goes.
Got a double header there.
Now Rick, fishing along this mangrove shoreline here in the river, you didn't anchor or put your power pole down, but yet we kept right parallel to the shore. We could pitch our baits in there. What's your secret or technique for fishing like this?
What I like to do is motor up against the current. So right now you can see the tide is going out and the water's going this way, and then right now we have the wind with the current. So it makes it a little bit harder, but I'm keep my nose into the current, keep the trolling motor going, and just kind of drop back along the mangroves. I found that in this boat, if I just start at the back and try to come straight up, you do that a couple times, it'll kill my battery. So I have to motor up, and then I can spot fish it as I go back down.
So you're basically just holding us in place,
Correct.
The right distance to cast away from the mangroves, and then if there's a tree or some structure there, you can hold us there a little bit, and we'll end up fishing the whole shoreline pretty efficiently too.
Yeah, it's pretty methodical to do it that way, and you never know whether it's going to be a redfish or a snook on which tree is sticking out. So you really, in certain spots, you don't want to miss that. And one thing that makes this spot really good is it drops off pretty steep. So I think that's why we're getting away with in August being able to catch fish, you know, up along the mangroves, is because it's not a shallow mangrove, it's a deep edge there.
Welcome back to Hooked on Fishing. Captain Rick Reddick is joining me tonight, and Rick, the techniques that you were using really sounded a lot like bass techniques to me. We were really doing sort of a bass technique fishing a shoreline structure, weren't we?
Yeah, it is pretty much that, flipping the bait, like I guess you would flip it into some hydrilla or something like that, and it's close to the boat also. What I like to do up there, what I like about fishing in the rivers is, my experience a lot of times, if I see the snook and they see me, it's usually they're not going to bite.
Yeah, that's pretty much
but in the rivers, you have an advantage to where they don't usually see you because the water's not clear, and so I think that also assisted.
Well, that you know, fish are fish, really. Saltwater, freshwater. If you understand their habitat and where they might like to ambush the bait, whether it's fresh or salt, it's pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And you're right. You know, when you think about bass ambushing frogs or something coming across, it's a very similar thing. And up there with the whitebait, they just can't resist it.
You could close your eyes and look at where we were fishing, and if we were fishing buzz baits and spinner baits and stuff like that, you would have just thought we were bass fishing somewhere else. It looks the same, but there were some saltwater fish in there. Back in December of '06, I went fishing with Rick's cousins, Jerry Rathie and Alan Reddick, and we did a little wintertime fishing in an area that might look familiar to you.
Something
no.
good. Something good. Redfish.
Yep, a little redfish. Excuse me.
Much more gold and brown due to this water. I saw where you cast. I'm gonna cast right there.
Snook.
Snook. Yeah. I'm liking that. We're adding to our species list here. He's a snook.
Got the right stripe.
That away. That's
Yep.
Variety. Mango snapper. Mangrove snapper. We're fishing around the mangroves. Now, here's the question. We're way, way out of the Gulf of Mexico, and I caught a mangrove snapper. And I am using a circle hook. So if the mangrove snapper is legal, I can keep it because I'm using a circle hook. Now Rick, on the other hand, is using a J hook. If he catches a legal mangrove snapper, he's got to throw it back.
Okay, we talked about that last week. I think it was the mangrove snapper and the circle hooks, Rick, and the J hooks. And the gist of it is, if you do catch a legal mangrove snapper, you can keep it if you're using a circle hook. But if you're using a J hook, you have to throw it back. If it's not a legal size, you got to throw it back no matter what hook you were using. And mangrove snapper almost in fresh water.
Yeah, that's not uncommon to catch mangrove snapper in there. And like I said, the Goliaths, it's a nursery for the Goliaths. And those fish are just up there, you know, they're in that fresh water.
Probably a nursery for a lot of things.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, all the tarpon eggs, everything we read, the tarpon spawn way out in the Gulf Stream or somewhere near there, certain salinity out near the Gulf Stream. The millions of eggs float inshore to the estuaries, the creeks, the rivers like that. And that's why most of the places where you see those little tarpon, they're in rivers and creeks and little estuary type things. So it's quite a nursery up in that area. Now, is it mangrove snapper or mango snapper?